दामोदर जी का शुक्रिया अदा करना चाहता हूँ कि उन्होंने यहाँ पे इस मौके पे फिर मुझे याद कर लिया और बुला लिया। मैं उनके काम से भी वाकिफ़ हूँ। उसके अलावा मैं गोवा आता रहा हूँ, तो मैं गोवा से एक ख़ास तौर पर, जैसे मैंने कहा ना कि घर वालों को भी तो कुछ कर ही लेना चाहिए, तो कहीं ना कहीं कोई दिया जला लो या रिबन काट लो, तो इसमें भी वो हिस्सेदारी तो महसूस होती है। लेकिन गोवा आने पर मुझे कई बार जो एहसास हुआ था गोवा के बारे में, तो मैंने एक मिसाल दी थी, आज पवन जी को शाम को सुना रहा था कि मुझे गोवा में, यहाँ आप सब देखेंगे ट्रैवल करते हुए यहाँ पे, कि आप जाते जाते कहीं से सर पे आप गाड़ी में या कार में जाइए तो देखेंगे कि जाते जाते आपकी दाईं तरफ इतना बड़ा एक समंदर है लिए हुआ, आपको साथ में लेके चल रहा है, और अचानक जाते हो कहीं पे मुड़े तो वो बाईं तरफ से आ गया। तो बाईं तरफ चलते चलते थोड़ी दूर गए तो कहीं ये सामने से आके उसने दूसरी तरफ से बदल दिया। तो जैसे माँ बच्चे को लेके चलती है ना, तो वो थक जाती है तो यहाँ से तो इधर से उठा लेती है, इधर से उठती है तो यूं कर लेती है बच्चे को। तो मुझे लगा कि ये गोवा कुछ समंदर का जाया है, उसकी गोद में है। तो मैंने एक छोटी सी नज्म कही थी गोवा के बारे में, तो मैंने सोचा कि अच्छा चलिए मैं वो सुना देता हूँ। मैं तकरीर तो नहीं कर पाऊंगा, तो वो साथ में ले ली और मंगवा ली थी मैंने, कि गोवा खुशकी पे है लेकिन ये छोटा जाया लगता है समंदर का। ये समंदर का जो छोटा बेटा, जैसे वो कूल्हे पर लिए हुए चलते हैं। अच्छा, कूल्हे का ट्रांसलेशन अब मुझे जाना पड़ेगा पवन जी के पास पूछने के लिए कि कूल्हा किसे कहते हैं। अब वो कूल्हा, हालांकि टैगोर ने भी जब ट्रांसलेट किया है बंगाली से, तो उन्होंने भी सही नहीं किया, उन्होंने भी अंग्रेजी में कैरिंग द पिक्चर ऑन योर बैक कर दिया, तो वो कूल्हा नहीं कह पाए। तो गोवा खुशकी पे है लेकिन ये छोटा जाया लगता है समंदर का, वो कूल्हों पर उठाए फिरता है उसको, कभी दाईं तरफ से कभी दाईं तरफ लेकर हुमकता है, कभी बाईं तरफ लेकर, ये छोटा जाया लगता है समंदर का। हर एक 2 मील पर कूल्हा बदलकर बात अपनी जारी रखता है, पुराने पुर्तगाली दौर के किस्से सुनाता है मुझे गोवा। गोवा खुशकी पे है लेकिन ये छोटा जाया है समंदर का। मैं इतनी सी नज़्म के साथ, थैंक यू, शुक्रिया।
It's truly an extraordinary privilege for me to be here today with Gulzar Saab, Damodar ji, and an audience in which there are so many friends, old and new. It's a privilege particularly because this is, as we know, a very special moment for Goa, the 50th anniversary of a very significant event in its history, an event that marked the end of a 500-year epoch, an era that began before the arrival of the Mughals and lasted until modern times. As someone who spends a lot of time daydreaming about history, I often wonder about the unrealized possibilities that lie embedded in the past. What would have happened, for example, if the Portuguese had seen the writing on the wall and granted Goa its independence in the 1950s? Would that independence have then become a fait accompli? Would Goa today be an independent country? Or was the post-colonial euphoria of that time so strong that Goa would have been pulled into the Indian orbit anyway, either through a Sikkim-style annexation or perhaps even by its own accord through a popular vote? This latter possibility may seem unlikely today, but the 50s and 60s were a different time. Let us not forget that in 1962, the Kuwaiti legislature actually voted to merge their country with Iraq. In the public commemoration of history, certain dates are treated as if they represented absolute and irreversible breaks with the past. But history is a mighty river, and its course is not easily changed. Within the Indian subcontinent, certain patterns and continuities seem to persist irrespective of boundaries, dates, and disjunctions. One thing that unites the Indian subcontinent is that we all make the same mistakes. Another is that we endure. Our traits, our tastes, our eccentricities, our proclivities, they endure in every corner of this landmass. Yet even as they endure, they are refracted into startlingly different configurations. There is an analogy here with Indian classical music. The notes of a raga are always the same, yet its realization is always unique, unrepeatable. The music exists only in the moment, in improvisation. Of no part of the subcontinent is this more true than of Goa. When I look around, I see things that are distantly familiar, from Bengal or Kerala or North India, and yet something is elusive. There are elements from places far beyond our horizons. There is always something surprising, something new. I remember the first time I encountered the familiar Goan gesture of greeting, where after shaking your hand, someone will touch their hand to their heart. I was astonished, for this is a gesture that is utterly, quintessentially Arab. And indeed, the Arab world is everywhere in Goa. It is, after all, only on the other side of the pond. We come across it in the writing of Richard Burton, who came to Goa and saw only miscegenation and the flouting of racial boundaries. We see it in the reaction of those Westerners who are shocked or outraged by Goa because it refuses to conform to their idea of India or of the Orient. We see it most of all in the constant chorus of press reports highlighting the various ills of Goan life. The longer one is in Goa, the more one is astonished by the power and vituperativeness of the narrative of dystopia that has been spun around the state. Every so often, friends will send me news reports about violence and drug running on the beaches, or about prostitution and the Russian mafia, and so on. These reports are not, of course, without foundation. I know that there is crime and violence on the beaches of Goa, but I know also that the beaches of Goa are not by any stretch of the imagination as dangerous as the streets of New York or Johannesburg or London or New Delhi. I go to the beach as often as I can, and what I see has no relation to the reports I read in the papers. I see young urban Indians who look as though they've been freed of their fetters for the first time. I see vendors from Karnataka and Maharashtra. I come across workers and waiters from Bengal, Jharkhand, Orissa, and the Northeast. I see young Russian families who appear to be perfectly respectable middle-class people, desperate only to get away from the cold. I listen to coconut sellers from Shioli bargaining in the language of Dostoevsky, Tolstoy, and Turgenev. I marvel at the fact that there is a shack on a Goan beach that is run by a best-selling Russian novelist who will sell you caviar and vodka if you ask for it. All of this is new. I am not afraid of it. And if there is one thing I would like to say to you, it is that let this be a day to celebrate the newness of Goa in music, art, and literature. Thank you.
Shri Amitav Ghosh ji, Director of this festival and center, Mrs. Nandini Sahai ji, the distinguished Konkani writers, Shri Damodar Mauzo ji, and Ramesh Veluskar ji, and many other friends, and honorable guests of this event. It is a pleasure to be one of the collaborators in organizing such a culturally significant event in such a beautiful place like Goa. Adding to the richness of the culture and celebrating unity in diversity is what Sahitya Akademi has been doing since its inception in 1954. Today, the Academy cherishes literature and literary activities in 24 Indian languages. Being one of the most remarkable Indian trade centers, the state that has already been alluring various industrious outsiders of ample of creative interests. The land of the state had invariably been providing itself a fertile ground for experimentalists belonging to every domain. I heartily extend my gratitude on behalf of the Sahitya Akademi and the organizers of this Goa Arts Literary Festival towards Honorable Shri Gulzar Sahib, Shri Amitav Ghosh ji for kindly agreeing to inaugurate this festival and for delivering excellent speeches. It can easily be observed that the poetry of their words has already charged the environment over here. Although for a short time, it is a honor to be with them. I heartily thank our collaborating organizations for making it possible to have the event in such a big way. I especially thank all of you, our friends from several esteemed news channels and newspapers, to be here for warmly encouraging us. I hope that we will keep the spirit of integrity coupled with electrifying creative intensity throughout the program. With these few words, I warmly thank once again each and every one of you. Thank you.